Being able to edit the terrain at runtime is one of the top reasons for creating a voxel terrain. Why else would we want to store information about every single block in the game? In this video, I'll show you how I find the block the player is looking at, and then make it possible for the player to add and remove blocks at runtime. Right now, my project has a terrain that's being meshed using greedy meshing, and a player that can move, jump, and fly around. The world chunks are being generated from a chunk manager, and after generation, they're added as children to the same manager. To find the block our player is looking at, we need to send a ray from the player's eyes in the direction the player is facing to see if it's colliding with anything. This is super easy in Godot, as we can just use the Raycast 3D node for this. I've added an instance of the Raycast 3D as a child of my player's eye camera. This makes it easy to make it point in the direction we're looking at. The Raycast 3D is really just a line, as we can see here. In the editor it's visible, but in the game it will be invisible. Over here we have the start of the ray, and when we run the project we can then get information on whether this line has collided with another collision object. And if a collision happened, we can also get the first collided object from the start of the ray. The ray's target position can be used to decide in what direction it should look, and how far it should look for colliding objects. And the position can be used to decide where the ray should stop. This is useful if we don't want to be able to edit blocks that are too close to the player. Now we can create a script to find the positions where we might add or remove blocks. My initial thought was to add two 3D vectors here for the positions where we might add or remove blocks. I would then always check for collisions, and if the ray was colliding with our terrain, these would then be updated. Otherwise, they would be set to null. However, we can't actually set a Godot vector to null. An alternative could be to decide that a negative vector would be used when there was no hit. But I might also want to make it possible to expand the terrain in the negative direction later. And for this reason, this solution wouldn't work. If we always check for collisions, then another solution could be to add two signals that could then be emitted when a collision occurs. Yet another solution could be to only check for collisions when the player has requested to either add or remove a block. And this is what I ultimately went for. But for this to work, we need to be able to return two vectors at the same time. So I first created a small RayHit class to encapsulate the hit results, and then a getRayHit method that returns a RayHit. Here I first use the getCollider method to get the first object that the ray intersects. We're only interested in collisions with chunk objects, so if the collider is not a chunk, we can just return null. Now that we know the ray has intersected a chunk, we can then get the collision point and normal using the getCollisionPoint and getCollisionNormal methods. The center of the block we might remove can then be found by subtracting half the normal from the position and flooring the result. If we want to add a block, then we can add the normal to this and get the position next to the block we're looking at to the side where the ray intersection has happened. These can then both be returned by creating a new instance of our RayHit class. I also want to visualize the direction the player is looking, and for this I simply just add a CSG box as a child of the Raycast 3D. Make it really tiny and add a material with no shading. I had previously turned visibility off for my player in my world scene. This has to be on for the CSG box to be shown. If we test now, then we can see a tiny rectangle in the middle of the screen. This will then automatically point in the same direction as our ray. To make the player be able to add or remove blocks, we of course need 2 new input actions. I decided to use the left and right mouse buttons for this. In the unhandled input method in the player script, I then also added 2 new if statements to handle when the new actions are pressed. I want to emit a signal when the player either wants to add or remove a block. So I added signals for this and a reference to the raycast at the top of the script. Now we can easily get the hit and emit the correct signal if a hit occurred. We can add a breakpoint inside both if statements and test to make sure this all works as expected so far. The last thing needed for all of this to work is to find the correct voxel in our terrain data, modify it and remesh the corresponding chunk. Right now, my chunk manager is both generating the initial terrain and keeping track of the chunks, and there isn't really an easy way to access a specific chunk by position. So before moving on, I quickly wanted to separate the chunk manager into 2 new classes instead of just this single one. A chunk manager that keeps track of the chunks and that it can also be used to add or remove individual voxels, and a terrain that then uses the chunk manager to create new terrain. The new setup is hopefully also going to be useful later when I might want to experiment with infinite terrain and or loading and saving chunks. The terrain node is really just part of the previous chunk manager, so there's really no new code here. The chunk manager has, however, changed a bit. It will store all the chunks in a dictionary using their position as keys. When a new chunk is needed, it will then be created using the new createChunk method. This will also add the chunk to the chunks dictionary, but it won't add it as a child of itself, so we need to do this somewhere else if the chunks mesh should be drawn to the screen. I also have a new removeChunk method that will both remove the chunk from the chunks dictionary and also queue-free the chunk. Next, I have a method for generating new chunks. This includes generating terrain data and a mesh for the chunk, and will finish by adding the new terrain chunk as a child of the chunk manager. Using this new setup, it was then easy to add new methods for adding and removing a single voxel. When we want to add a voxel, we either use the existing chunk corresponding to the voxel's position, or we create a new chunk. And when removing a voxel, we get the chunk for the position and return if there is none. After removing a voxel, we also check if the corresponding chunk is now empty and remove it if this is the case. Both of these new methods end by calling remesh on the chunk, which will make sure that the chunk's mesh is updated to match the new data. If you want to take a closer look into my new chunk manager and terrain node, then you can get the code on Patreon the first month after this video has been released. After this, the code will also be open sourced on GitHub. All we need now is then to connect the add and remove signals from the player to the chunk manager's new add and remove methods. And voila! Now we can add and remove blocks to our terrain at runtime. And that was all for now. I hope you liked this video, and remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell and all that if you want to see more like this in the future.